Hello, my name is Brian. Hold on one second. I am your mentor, Brian, and basically I figured this would be a good way for us to communicate. If you want to send me videos, then that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. Basically, this is just an introduction to myself. This is an introduction to how I make music and how I make patches, and we'll get to more topics as we go along. But this is just an intro, just to get to know each other and what we have. And the topic I think for this week would be setup. Because if you don't have a good setup, or if your setup isn't optimized, then it could be difficult to make music in a rapid fire succession, or it could stifle your creativity because you're worrying about things working and all that. I used to just use computer speakers whenever I would mix, whenever I would record, and my mixes were never really that great. I decided to get a monitor system. I basically run it through I run all my stuff, my master out into a amplifier, and it basically gives me stereo sound, and I have my speakers roughly centered around me so that I can get a good general idea of how everything sounds. And so, the equipment that I have, I'll do a quick rundown. We have the Microkorg there. I have my computer. I have an MS-20 Mini. It has the exact same sound module or as the Microkorg. So it was actually its predecessor. And if you look, there's a bunch of dials and knobs. Instead of having under the hood features like the Microkorg where you have dials and you have submenus and things like that, this guy just allows you to tweak and turn knobs as you see fit. But if you look, you cannot save patches. So that's the limitation. The Microkorg is more powerful in a sense because you can save patches and back them up onto your computer, which we'll get into dialogues about that. The R16 is an interface recorder. It's like $400. It's done on my recording. I have all my instruments going into that and then into the Octatrack. That's how I have it right now, and then from the Octatrack it goes to my actual speaker amplifier. And then this guy here is the Minilogue, and I really like this synth. I think it sounds, I was gonna get the Microkorg S, and I put this side by side with the Microkorg S, and I liked this more, mainly because I already have a Microkorg. So, there really wasn't much reason. Oh, also, my bass collection. I got a Gibson EBO, and I got a G&L, and I'll show you those later. That's the basic rundown of it. That's the basic rundown of my setup. You can mix and master with the Octatrack. That is possible. You can record with the Octatrack. That is also possible. But the amount of setup that you need to do, because you only have 8 tracks, you can only choose the Octatrack to do certain things. So what I use the Octatrack for is sort of a MIDI controller, MIDI sequencer. The ARP on it is completely custom, completely powerful. It's better than Ableton Live, practically. And I use Ableton Live a lot. I use it for mixing. I use it for songwriting, all that stuff. I started I bought the Microkorg about 6 years ago, and it was my first synthesizer, and I had no peers. There was no one to help me. The guy at the Guitar Center store didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, and he didn't know how to use it. He didn't know how to save patches, really do anything. So this mentorship program is kind of key for learning a lot of this gear, because you may get YouTube videos, but that may not necessarily serve your direct needs on how you use your equipment. So it's great that we have a mentorship. I've played bass for roughly 11 years. I was in rock bands. I got into rock bands, metal bands, punk bands, things like that. And anytime I was between projects, I always had something going on, and it was my electronic music. And, as time has progressed, I got better at creating electronic music, and now I'm actually to the point where I'm almost in a live capacity. Like, I can put stuff up on SoundCloud, and I want to take it to the next step with the live performance. That's what I'm trying to learn, and I'm doing that through the Octatrack. And it's performing live with the Octatrack, super easy. It seems like you can use stems to trigger samples. That seems really simple. You can load the stems up from your computer. That whole process was really simple for me. And I can show you how to do these things if you're interested. So let's go over, homework. So in the Welsh's synthesizer cookbook, it goes over everything you need to know about the basics of synthesis and patch creation. It also gives you universal terminology, things like cutoff and frequency and what these things mean. It gives an in-depth look at phase cancellation. So it has really advanced topics that a lot of books really don't cover, and it's a thin book when you actually purchase it. I've used that as a foundation to make most of my patches, and it really taught me a lot on how to make patches. Now, should you use these patches? Should you use these patches all the time? Are they going to be great all the time? No, because the different manufacturers have different things, and they all sound different on every machine. Some patches, I've noticed, sound great on most machines, and typically the older the machine, the more likely it's going to sound like what you want. And the first patch that I want you to make, the first patch that I want you to make as homework is the 808 kick. In the back of the book, it explains how to make an 808 kick. Why the 808 kick at first? Well, here's why. For one, you're going to use it no matter what. You are going to use a bass drum kick in everything that you do, more than likely, if you have drums. For two, it's incredibly simple. It's a great introduction to patch making, and it's super useful. You can record it, sample it. If you change the filter frequency on it, you can actually make the kick sound deeper and more subby, or you can make it sound flatter. So essentially, you can make a full spectrum of kick sounds by just knowing this one patch. It's probably the most useful patch for you to know how to make. And and if you sampled it onto your Octatrack, you could you could set up a pickup machine, and you could loop it, and you could make it into a stem or put it on to the RAM of the actual Octatrack, and now you have a kick that you can use on all of your projects. So it's infinitely useful for you to know how to make this. Let me know what you think. I'm going to send you some pictures. If you know how to initialize a patch, then do that. Initialize the patch first if you know how to do that, and then turn off the global protection on your microKORG. If you don't know how to do that, let me know. And also, what else? Oh, save it. You know, save the patch. I mean, I guess if you want to save the patch. If you don't know how to save a patch, that's something that you can learn how to do. That's fairly simple. And all these things we're going to need to know how to do for the next step. But if you already know how to do these things, then, you know, either don't save it or get your machine ready to initialize and get your machine ready to save and not be protected, because we're going to be making patches every week. You know, because it sounds like that's something you're really interested in. I've not worked with the microKORG S, so I'm going to give you some videos that taught me how to use the software with the old microKORG, and the design itself, the S itself, is just an addition to the old microKORG. And really what you're doing is you're sending MIDI information from your computer, zeros and ones, and telling the microKORG, hey, this is how you adjust, like it's turning the dials for you. So in order to send that information the old way, you need to take the microKORG's MIDI in and put it into the MIDI out of your computer interface. And then also you need a second MIDI cable, and you need to take the in of, you know, the out and the in and the out, like of each machine need to be connected. Because essentially what it's doing is the MIDI out is going from the computer to the microKORG, and then the microKORG is sending information back to save. So you're taking the MIDI out from the microKORG and going back into your computer. And if it doesn't have both pathways, you will have errors when you're trying to load your patches. It's really important that you use the software, because if you accidentally delete one of your patches, it'll be backed up on your computer. Also, you know, one of the biggest challenges that I did is I deleted a lot of the patches because I didn't really use them. Any of the patches, when I started getting into making patches, I just started deleting patches, like, and you know, another thing that you can do is if you haven't made any of your own patches, you can back up all the factory presets on your computer first. So if you accidentally delete something or you save something over or whatever, it's backed up, and you can put it back onto your microKORG and fix it. You can also customize what slot it goes in, and we'll go in depth into that. I think maybe for a whole week that'll be like a thing. If by next week we don't really have it figured out, you know, I'm gonna look into the microKORG S, because they have additional features that are added to the synth, and I don't really know, you know, I don't know if there's any nuances, like, you know, you said that there was a USB on it, so I don't know how the USB interacts with computers, and because my microKORG doesn't do that, but I will troubleshoot that, and we will get it worked out so that, you know, you can use the microKORG to the full potential. One of the things that I do to help me remember how to initialize a patch is on my microKORG. This is kind of weird, but on the 3 I put NIT, and that reminds me how to, and that button is the initialize button, so that I don't, when I'm saving things and when I'm doing things, I don't accidentally press it, or, you know, that's clearly labeled. The 3 is clearly labeled with NIT. You know, and, you know, if you have any questions, just throw me an email. I'm going to send you some pictures of another book. It's called, Sequencing Drum Beats, or Programming Drum Beats. I bought it on Amazon for, I think, $1. I think it's $1, and it's 50 pages, and it tells you how to program drum beats into a drum machine. It doesn't necessarily teach you modern drum beats, but once again, like with the cookbook, it's a foundation so that it can kind of get you thinking like a drummer. And it really helped me get the basics of programming a drum beat in. And if you make every single drum beat in that book, it has every single style you can think of. It's got rock beats, it's got blues beats, it's got disco beats, reggae beats, funk beats. It gives you a really good foundation so that if you work with a lot of different kinds of people, or if you want a particular sound, that you're going to be able to get that a little more because you're going to have a more authentic drum beat. Also, what it does, at least it did for me, when I start to listen, because I know where the kick drum is supposed to be, I can count where the kick drum is whenever I hear something, whenever I hear a drum beat, and I know it's like, okay, like there's no dubstep drum beats in there. But I listened to a dubstep drum beat and I figured it out, and and I got those, I learned a lot about programming drum sequencing through that. And we'll probably have like a week or something where we do stuff with drum machines and things like that. I'm fixing to buy a DFAM, which is the Moog's analog drum machine. So yeah, I really like the sounds that come from that. It's pretty authentic. It's really good. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Yeah, and I look forward to what we've got going on. If you need anything mixed or mastered, I will do that for you through this process. And if you're stuck on an idea and you only have 4 bars, then we could make that in a song too. But we're gonna, for the first part, we're gonna focus on patch creation, because that's more about the microKORG and the scope of, I think, what you want to be mentored on. But I can always help with songwriting ideas and things like that. So have fun, make that 808 kick. Try to keep the reading to sort of a minimum. You don't have to crush the fucking book, just read like 5 or 10 pages and then take a break, because it's very dense, and you need to, instead of just plowing through it, I'd rather have you read like 5 pages and really understand what's on there, so that you can really get that solid foundation and vocabulary, because me personally, anytime I walk up to a synth, I know what it can do just by looking at it, because I read this book. It's infinitely useful. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy our program. Yeah, I really look forward to you posting a video. If you're shy or you don't want to do that, then that's cool. I look forward to hearing your music, what you've got going. I really hope it comes to life. Yeah, so take it easy. And I'll probably give you a video message next week. So, see you later.